We've got some incredible content upcoming, but let me first tell you about the best stuff that we do. It's on redmenplus.com. If you upgrade, you get all of our stuff. If you like our videos, if you like our podcast, and you want one place to watch and consume it all, redmenplus.com is the place. Get yourself over there, show your support for me and the rest of the team, and we will hand loads and loads and loads of incredible content in return.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's match build-up time. Liverpool heading down to the south coast once again to face Brighton. Let's go either or is absolutely fine in the FA Cup this time, of course, just a couple of days or weeks after. Pretty much Jürgen called the worst loss of his career down at Brighton in the league. Ste Hoare here, joined by Dan Clubbe and Steve Plunkett for a match build-up show with a difference, a bit of an announcement to come later on in terms of the match build-ups and the future of the show in general. But stick around to the end of the show for that one if you want a little bit more on that one. But a bit of an announcement coming up later in. But before we get to that one, Dan, revenge time?
It's got to be, hasn't it? Yeah, I think Jürgen Klopp in his press conference earlier was obviously asked about going back to Brighton so soon, and he sort of referenced just how poor the first game was, and I don't think they watched it back initially, and they've watched some things back since. So yeah, it's got to be revenge time. Since that very humbling, embarrassing, and sort of eye-opening defeat, we have shown a little bit of teeth. Like, to sort of quote you a minute ago, we have shown a little bit of fight, actually. We've gone back to basics a bit. So, yeah, it's got to be. And there's no better way to put it right, is than to go back there and to get the result that we're looking for this time.
Steve, obviously, you managed a few years ago, you're a football manager, obviously a lower level than two Premier League sides, but if your side had just gotten beaten and then a few weeks later you were playing the same side, how much would you be speaking about that in the build, like in training sessions or tactical plan or whatever? Would there be? I know because Jürgen's quick to downplay that. Really, he's more like, we'll just concentrate on us. But behind the scenes, there must be a concerted effort of these battered us last time. These embarrassed yous on national in front of the world. Like that must be something that's being said. Surely you would have been using that.
We did scout teams even at the level I managed that, and you would basically look at their strengths. And for us, their strength is our weakness. So it makes it like sort of double down on what goes on in midfield in terms of when we don't have the ball, how we stop runners, how we stop getting ourselves into 50-50 situations with powerful, more physical centre midfielders than we've got. So yeah, there'll be a lot of that. I'm not of the opinion that Jürgen Klopp does too much of that. I think he likes to centre on what we do and we do well. And if we do it well, it kind of doesn't matter what the opposition do because we're good enough to see that game out. But you can't hide the fact that their midfield was and is on paper and form-wise stronger and better than ours right now. So I think there'll be a slightly different approach to the game. I don't think we go there and be so open in midfield. He has to find a way to stop that.
Yeah, no, listen, he tried to argue de facto. He's not going to do that again, I think. But obviously since that game, they battered us. Then they played Leicester. They drew 2-2. Regardless of changes, and they've made a couple of changes, they've had injuries, and we'll touch on later. Yeah. The one thing they are continuously doing is scoring goals. 3 against us, 5 against Middlesbrough, 2 against Leicester, 2 against Arsenal. They constantly 4 against Everton. They found the back of the net, and I say that like I said on the last build-up to the last Brighton game. They've done it without a recognised striker, although Ferguson is starting to evolve into that role. As Steve makes a great point about the midfield, and he does, but they've scored against everyone. Yeah. It hasn't just been Liverpool. Listen, 2 goals. I know they got beat by Arsenal, but they scored twice against them. And obviously Arsenal won 4-2. Like I say, he battered, but loads of goals. Jürgen, again, he said in his press conference, didn't he, about the defending today. And by the way, that press conference is available on our YouTube channel. If you listen to this on the podcast and feed, it should be in the feed if you want to go and check out everything Jürgen said there. And it was quite interesting. But he did say without really pointing out, defending's everyone's responsibility. It's a complex thing, but I've been quite happy with how things have changed around since that game. Yeah. This is the test because the reason why Liverpool were forced to go a little bit more compact and with back to basics in the Wolves game and the Chelsea game is because they were played off the park by Brighton. So if you want to test the change of emphasis or the change of approach and the change of players going back to the exact same place against pretty much the exact same team, it's the perfect example. Well, you think you're defensively solid. Here's the team who scored 3 against you. We're this close to having a penalty. Could have beat us 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Genuinely could have been 7. Yeah. That's the chance for us to go and prove that. Are we defensively solid now? Was that fool's gold in the last couple of weeks against 2 struggling attacking sides? this is the litmus test for that, really.
Oh, 100% it is, yeah. It feels like it might have come a little bit too early in that sense, actually, because you're right, obviously we've got 2 back-to-back clean sheets now, which is great, and so much of Jurgen Klopp's narrative about how he's going to sort of change our season around and get us facing in the right direction again has been about getting more defensively solid, winning more challenges, and then really stripping it back to the fundamentals, really, of football and doing the basics right, and you're winning your individual battles and stuff, which we weren't doing for pretty much the entire season up until the last fortnight, you'd have to say. But like I say, to go from being so underwhelming and so under par at Brighton just like a fortnight ago, it doesn't feel like we've had enough proof to really say we're back now. This is us and we look defensively solid. So to go back there so soon is going to be another huge test. I'd be amazed if we manage to limit Brighton to the sort of clear-cut opportunities like we've done against Wolves and Chelsea. We'd be really lucky to do so because, like you say, they're playing such free-flowing, attacking football. It's like De Zerbi's gone in there and seen all the great work Graham Potter did and went, okay, I can just add 5, 6, 7% to that and then we'll be done. We'll be pretty much, for where Brighton are, the full package. And I think they might be there in terms of what they can achieve and what is possible for them. He's done a great job, but for us, yeah, this is a real big one. And that's why so much is going to come down to the selection and who he goes with, because obviously it's an FA Cup game, he'd be tempted to rotate, but he might have to just stick with the big guns for this one.
Looking at them, Steve, because I'm just checking here, like, it is going to be a slightly different Brighton team than we played. So, obviously, Lallana went off injured the other day. He won't be involved in the other game against us, to be fair to him. Colwell at centre-half played, he's now injured. I think they're still waiting for Webster to come back. So, the other day, it was Van Heck who played. And before, there's been talk of him going on loan to Middlesbrough. So, obviously, and he got subbed off as well the other day as well. Bear that in mind. He went off a little bit later on for I think Tariq Lamptey come on and had a little bit of a reshuffle. So it isn't the same side, which is worth noting. Obviously, they sold Trossard since then as well, although, again, he didn't play in that game. I think he was on the naughty step.
Yeah.
There's an issue at centre-half. They've got an issue at centre-half. They have. Whether it's because the injuries they've got, obviously, with the situation there. Liverpool have got Darwin back, and we'll talk upon that later, but that is one major difference, really. Liverpool didn't really attack Brighton, I'll be honest. It's hard to know, because Colwell could have played with his slippers on and Lewis Dunk. But if that is something in that's a chink in the armour, perhaps.
Perhaps a little bit. What Brighton do really well is that they play in blocks of 4. So the centre midfield either go and engage with the back 4 or go and engage with the front 2 or 3, and they move in segments of 4. I've watched a bit of a tactical video, and it's really interesting to watch. So it's not about who plays in that position, it's about managing a system that they want. So if he's playing, they trust him to manage the system. If he's playing, they trust him to follow the game plan. They will probably try and do the same thing what they did last time because it worked. It's how we break that down. So I'm not really looking too much into Levi Colwell not playing. I personally think he shouldn't have been on the pitch after he showed a barge to Alisson in the side of the head for nothing. During that game, he was a very lucky boy that didn't get looked at. But with him not being there, the guy that comes in will just slot into a system. Rather than bringing in a guy with all of his indeficiencies and his strengths and his skills and all of that stuff, he would just be asked to do what the team had been doing since De Zerbi took it on and said, like Dan said, I'll give it another maybe 10% and we'll be better. Because they are better now than when Potter left. 100%. They've got more of an attacking flair. They've got more of a cutting edge. That problem of not scoring goals was transferred from Brighton to Chelsea, so it seems. So I think we need to be mindful of disrupting the system rather than capitalising on one player. What
do you think of this Casado stuff then, Dan? Because as it stands, at a time, like literally a few hours ago, Arsenal had a £60 million bid rejected from Moises Casado. Chelsea, Potter were interested in taking him as well. It's clearly, like, is that going to affect him? Like, we're hoping it does, but like I'm just thinking, I'd like us to sign him. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. By the way, there was a lot of talk, but I think that's been ruled out now for the time being, unfortunately. But transfer bids don't just happen. Like, someone spoke to someone, and there's been conversations. I suppose, from a Liverpool point of view, A, you'd like to be on his mind. B, he might not play. There's a cup tied issue, perhaps. Where I don't know. There's things to be. But like, again, it is a little bit clutching at straws, to be honest with you. But I've seen, you know, if he's thinks I've got a big move coming, you know, does he get stuck in as much? Is it on the back of his mind? Is it in his head? Does the manager pick him because he didn't pick Trossard?
Well, yeah.
Again, I don't know if I can't say Moises Casado's kicking up a storm. Like, to be honest, we don't know how he's going, but that's another thing. Like, he's one of their best players, And if there is just anything going around his head, that's hopefully a bonus for us, because he was excellent again. He's been excellent all season.
Yeah, he was. And as much as Steve's right about the system working so well, it doesn't really matter who slots into it, which is what Jurgen Klopp's been his main success really at Liverpool. It hasn't mattered who's individuals as long as we play the same way, which we haven't been able to do this year quite clearly. But yeah, I think with Caicedo, clearly the manager doesn't suffer fools, because we've seen that when he just took Trossard out of it entirely, just completely said, okay, then you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. When that comes to training and matches, just said, yeah, on your way, don't want you involved. He had Mitoma, who was a wonderful player, as backup, so it didn't really matter too much. But with the Caicedo one, I don't know if the backup to him is quite as strong. I think without him and without Lallana, their midfield might be a little bit under strength, you'd probably have to say.
Billy Gilmore, maybe.
It hasn't really kicked on, has he? Since he actually was wonderful against us in the FA Cup a couple of years ago. He was outstanding that night. But he hasn't really sort of trained on from that point, has he? So, yeah, if he is considering a move, the last thing I want to do is get injured, quite clearly, we know that. He did change agents as well recently, so there is something to all this transfer stuff. You don't just change agents and just like nothing happens on the back of it. It's very rare. Normally it means something's brewing. Whether it happens this window, I think it's almost certainly leaves in the summer, at which point I'd like us to be involved in that conversation if that is the case. But for us, it'd be really nice. The perfect outcome really is he has kicked up a little bit of a stink. He does want to move. The manager, like I say, doesn't suffer fools, doesn't involve him, says, okay, you don't want to be here, go sit on the naughty step, and then he doesn't leave, and then we sign him in the summer. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, looking at it with red tinted glass on. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, he might even be sold by the time. He could be on a train to London as right now. We'll keep an eye on that one. Going to speak about Liverpool and what Liverpool are going to do. Any changes? Like I say, Steve referenced before about shutting Brighton down a bit more better than we did earlier. We'll do that in the second part of the show. Before that, I've got a trivia question before we head into our little break, and I'll post it to you guys in the studio and anyone watching along live in the YouTube chat. Get yourselves involved. If you're watching or listening to this post, just play it in your head. Have a little go, see if you can figure the answer out yourself. But yeah, this obviously last season Liverpool won the FA Cup. Therefore, we won a fourth round tie. Liverpool won that game 3-1. Do you remember who scored the 3 goals? Who were Liverpool's 3 goal scorers? Do you know who we beat?
Yeah, I was there.
Sure, that helps.
Yeah.
You might have a good chance of this one then. So yeah, who scored the 3 goals last season in the fourth round of the FA Cup? I'll give the answers. I think Dan probably already knows them. After the quick break, I just want to give you guys a heads up. It is nearly the end of the month, which means we'll be doing our prize draw very, very soon. A signed shirt from a Liverpool hero of the FA Cup last season. Cast your eyes and ears on this from Mr. Chris Pajak.
A few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to sit down with Liverpool left-back Kostas Tsimikas. I was able to get an interview with him, to get some quick-fire questions done, and I was lucky enough to host a Q&A with him and John Aldridge at Hotel Anfield in Liverpool. Now, while I was there, I also managed to get him to sign this Liverpool shirt for you guys. So if you want to be in with a chance to win this incredible signed Kostas Tsimikas shirt, then all you need to do is go over to redmenplus.com and sign up as a club legend for this month's prize draw.
Yeah, there you go. The Greek scouted himself, Kostas Tsimikas, signed us a shirt, and we'll be giving it away at the end of the month. What is it? At the time, it's the 27th right now, so 4 more days left of January, and then we'll be giving that away. So you have to get yourselves involved. Redmen Plus as a club legend, and you'll get loads and loads of stuff, including access to the Discord chat, which means you can avoid social media, which at this current climate might not be the worst idea for you, trust me. Right then, I said before the break about last season's FA Cup fourth round. It was against Cardiff. Obviously, Liverpool won 3-1.
Yep.
3 different goal scorers. Fire some at me.
We said Taki.
Yeah, so you got the first one.
I got a feeling Elliott might have scored.
Yeah, Taki scored the second and Elliott scored the
comeback
third.
goal as well for Harvey Elliott, from his ankle.
And I can't get the third one.
Jota opened the scoring.
There you go.
Yep.
Job done.
Absolutely nailed it. Dan Morris in the YouTube chat got that as well. Yeah, it was Elliott, Minamino and Jota. Albeit Dan, it was the other way round. Maybe Dan's gone back. Did the other Dan got it? It was Jota.
Oh, this Dan, sorry, yeah.
Jota was, not you, sorry. It was Jota, it was Minamino, it was Elliott. Dan Morris said that in the YouTube chat. Well done to you, Dan. Thanks for playing along. But yeah, there we go. Right then, I tried to belay it as much as I can, but we have to have fucking Liverpool now. Right then, injuries. Yeah, you can confirm nobody's relatively close. That means no Diaz, no Jota, no Van Dijk, no Arthur Melo, although apparently he's close. No Roberto Firmino. They're the ones that we all knew about. Since then, Nat Phillips has been ill, hasn't trained, and also is subject of transfer talk. hence why Liverpool brought Reece Williams back. And Fabio Carvalho is now out, is the main one. He's no longer an option on that left-hand side, whether he was anyway, but he's now injured as well. With all that being said, Steve, Jurgen's still got some decisions to make here. There are still some options available to him, not as many as he would have wanted, because Diaz, Jota, Van Dijk and Firmino would have all been in contention to start, certainly, but they're not here, so it is what it is. But there are still some choices, so the first one's at centre-half. I mean, Ibou's going to play. Robertson and Trent are first choice, unless they're getting rotated or whatever, they'll both certainly start. It's whether he goes with Gomez or brings back Joel Matip. Now, Joel Matip shit the bed in this game. I mean, all of them did last season, don't get me wrong, in the last game against these. Since then, we've kept 2 clean sheets. So, would it be fair to say Gomez is probably the favourite of the two to play in this one?
Yeah, for the reason you just said, two clean sheets, you'd be sending the wrong message out to the squad if you said, right, I'm bringing Joel Matip back now. We all, to a man in this studio, and as Liverpool fans, have been questioning Joel Matip's contribution at times this season, not been in the form that we've seen in recent years. So I kind of think big thing after the Wolves game was he spoke of a meritocracy. Those guys that did really well would be in the running for shirts. Well, Gomez hasn't done anything wrong, so we haven't conceded a goal. And he's probably better on the left side than the other two anyway, in the absence of Van Dijk. So I see it being Gomez over Matip.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like Steve sort of touches upon there, when you get back-to-back clean sheets, having been so porous defensively the entire season, you can't get back-to-back clean sheets, make a big song and a dance about getting back to basics and being more defensively solid, and then pull out the defender who's been a part of that. It doesn't seem right. Like, the shirt, Klopp himself has made a big thing about earning the shirt, especially with Pochettino, obviously. Gomez has done that, so you've kind of just got to let him go with it now.
He also, Dan, he's got pace, and Matip's strengths is his reading of the game, and he does defend well, like in one-on-one situations, but he does lack pace. And what Brighton exposed that a little bit actually, that ball over to Alex behind Alexander Arnold, for example.
It was Matoma, wasn't it?
It was Matoma, and that can happen because Trent's going to push forward a little bit. Canate being on that side, Gomez being on the other side to cover Robbo. I feel like even if it was just horses for courses, probably Gomez would be a better fit against this type of opposition who are full of pace, full of movement. I don't really think that suits Matip's game per se. So I think even in general, Gomez would probably be the best option, albeit, he has earned the share, but we've still seen this season, like Joe Gomez has had his ups and downs as well. Like, it's not like he's nailed on being brilliant either. No. But it does feel like you're right. Maybe he is better suited to this certain opposition. Yeah,
100%. And we've all been kind of crying out and hoping and expecting at some point he will get a run of games. They'll get a consistent run of games in terms of his own form. His form hasn't warranted that very often. Obviously, the Napoli game earlier this year was a prime example when he didn't warrant being in the side for the next time around because he was just terrible. We weren't great to him, man, but he was probably the worst of the lot. So, yeah, I think with Matip, in terms of this game as well, Matip does like to be that standoffish defender who only really deals with a situation when it's necessary. He won't go and engage, and that's fine. Canate is the opposite. He likes to go and engage and deal with stuff and be rough. So the way Brighton attack will be very pacey, like you say, but even if they go with Ferguson, you've got Canate, because Ferguson's a bigger lad. He can it'll be the physical attribute they've got, but Canate can probably deal with him and let Gomez deal with some of the runners around. And it's interesting, the right and left side of those two. I just assumed they'd line up the other way, but they have gone Gomez on the left and Canate on the right, because Gomez obviously sort of filling in as a makeshift right back. You'd almost naturally say he should be on the right side.
That's where he dropped in when we lost Van Dijk for the knee injury.
He has done it.
He played on the left, didn't
he? He has. But like I say, because he plays right back as well occasionally, you'd almost think it'd be more natural for him. But
Ibu seems to suit the left, but then he's done all right on the left.
Ibu on the left, because when we didn't have Virgil van Dijk for a couple of games, just sort of rotation-wise, Canate was on the left. But yeah, it seems that they've struck upon something. Let's put it like that. They've struck upon something. We all thought
he was a left back when we signed him, because we played him there as well, didn't we?
Yes, Gomez? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Danny Agger-esque, back in the day. But they've struck upon something, Gomez and Canate, and I don't think we're in a situation now whereby we say, okay, that's worked. Let's try something else. If it works, let's go.
Let's move on. You referenced before, my mates, the midfield, they completely outplayed us. The options available. Surely the midfield has to be the same midfield that's been the last 2 games. Like, I can't see. Can he bring Jordan Henderson and Fabinho back into the side against the team that you'd be bombing them out the side for? I just don't see that being a thing.
It's a bit mad that you sit here and we talk about what's our best midfield, and we've got an 18-year-old and a guy that potentially wants to leave the club that we've all sort of castigated over the months and years, saying, when's Naby Keita going to turn up? And in the sort of final throes of his contract, here he is getting potentially 3 games in a row, which is also unheard of. There's more mobility in that 3 than there is if you bring in Henderson and Fabinho. They are brilliant players in their own right. One's out of form and one's played 470 games for Liverpool and you're starting to see signs of wear and tear in Henderson. Not to be negative about him, but that's the reality when you play that many games and you're 32. Those 3 will probably get the nod purely because of the industry and the work rate. And I think between now and the end of the season, for me, what's really interesting is if we can get Bassetti to run the games and he shows that he's worthy of his contract and he does the things that we're expecting him to do, he saves you £30 million in the summer because he is your 6. He is your guy that you bring in, and you bring maybe Tyler Mortar back to understudy him or something like that. That's not what our fans want to hear because they want to go and spend £80 million. This is an 18-year-old lad playing in the heart of a stretched Liverpool midfield, and he doesn't look out of place. So the link with Thiago's really good for him as well. They've made a bit of an on-field friendship as well for obvious reasons. So I think, again, we talk about meritocracy, we talk about those players that play well, keeping their shirts. It would send out the wrong message to any of those 3 to say, I'm bringing you out and I'm playing Fabinho because Fabinho's got no form to call on. So you can't do that. We still need to find a way to get back to remembering what it was like to win 3 or 4 games in a row. And I think you can't do that if you're forever changing your squad. So I think the midfield should and hope it stays the same.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that one. Right, Dan, let's move forward then into the forward areas, no less. We touched upon this area. There's a massive difference in terms of Liverpool's attack compared to against Brighton when they were very, very toothless. They do have Darwin Núñez available. He starts him almost. He's got to play. You'd think Mo Salah will play. Yeah. It's whether Jurgen sticks with Gakpo, whether he wants to stick Elliott out there again. He's got Chamberlain available again. I'm not sure with that one. Obviously, no Fabio Carvalho. It feels like it's a straight toss up this between Gakpo and Elliott. Yeah. And then also on that, it's where they play because like Gakpo can be up front, Gakpo can be on the left. Vice versa with Núñez. Salah can go up front if they want to. Harvey Elliott we've seen going up. Like I think there are four genuine options. I think they're the 4. It's A, who is he going to go for, and then B, where he's going to deploy them. What would you suggest he's going to do? What do you think he's going to do, rather?
Yeah, clearly, if you look at the injury list, he only has a finite amount of forwards available to him, Fabio Carvalho being the latest to fall by the wayside there. So he hasn't got an abundance of options, but he does have 4 players there who can fit into different roles in it, which is interesting. For me, the last option he should opt for would be Harvey Elliott from the left. That just simply doesn't work. Doesn't make any sense, doesn't work. The only positive about that, and I mentioned it, I think it was on, not the final word, the instant reaction with you after the game, Steve, is that he can whip crosses in instantly with his left foot. But that's it. Outside of that, him being on the left makes no sense whatsoever to me. I would be very tempted, if I was Jurgen Klopp, to just go with your 3 most senior lads and your 3... Probably your 3 frontline lads, you'd have to say, when it comes to the attack available to you now, which is Gakpo, Núñez and Salah. Harvey Elliott could feel hard done by, especially after the Wolves performance in the last round. But for me, if he's not going to start on the right wing or in that attacking 8 role that he adopts, he just can't start the game. Yeah. He just can't. And Salah, we've all said, is going to start. He's out of form. I mean, Salah, by the way, massively out of form. So if he kind of came in for Salah, he wouldn't be that surprised. But Salah's going to start because he needs goals, he needs a bit of confidence himself. But like I say, if we're saying the midfield 3 is going to stay the same, which I tend to agree with, then Elliott unfortunately misses out on this one because I think we need to see more of Gakpo, Núñez and Salah as a combination. I think that has to be the way we look for the next few weeks while Firmino and etc. are out. So I think we need that understanding. We need them to sort of work together, play together, realise when they're going to make the runs. And also, I love the idea, and I've said it a few times on shows now, about Núñez and Gakpo interchanging. I don't think if you put one on the left and one central, that just swaps all the time, and I really like that.
On that, Steve, then, if it is going to be those 3, there's still a decision to be made, isn't there? Like I say, Gakpo, I don't think he's a centre-forward. I'm not sure Darwin Núñez might be. I don't know. Again, it's like every forward we've got, whose name is it? Mohamed Salah really likes playing on the left. Yeah. I mean, Roberto Firmino was sad, but like Diaz, Jota, Núñez, Gakpo, they're all left wingers, really. Or that feels like they could play there. That is a decision to be made because I don't know. I feel a bit sorry for Cody Gakpo. Really, he's been thrown into an underperforming team in a position that he hardly ever plays in. He's been asked to do a job, and he's done it to the best of ability. But if you want to get the best out of him, I suppose it would make sense to stick him out on the left. Darwin can play number 9. He's done that a bit this season again. He'll naturally drift anyway, so you will get some interchange between them. But as a general starting position, I don't know. My sense is that I think Gakpo being back on the left would do him a whole lot of good.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. If you're Lewis Dunk, for instance, and you're looking ahead to tomorrow's game and it's Gakpo and you're thinking, I've watched the videos, he shows no willingness to run in behind at all. He comes short, shows for the ball. He's really clever at looking after the ball. I like that about him. The other fella, Nunes, by the way, will try and isolate me and try and run me every single time they get the ball. I don't want that. I'm not looking forward to that. So for me, it would be Gakpo on the left, Nunes through the centre, and obviously Salah on the right. I have some sympathy for Gakpo too. He's not played in the same 11 yet, 2 consecutive games. It must be really difficult to join a new club. There was a worldwide expectation. This guy's really good. He's had a great World Cup. Wherever he goes, they're going to get a player. And we haven't been able to see that. And that's not his fault. No. So stick him on the left. Stick Nunes through the centre. Dan's right. Get the rotation going between the two of them. But it was so easy for Brighton for the two centre backs to join in with the back of the midfield because Gakpo offered no threat running in behind. There was no risk involved with stepping up and joining in with play. You can't do that with Nunes because he's faster with the ball than you are without anyway. Never mind giving him 40 yards to put the afterburners on. You're not getting anywhere near him. Mm-hmm. And it might take him the 5 minutes he's got just to make his mind what to do with the ball, by the way, at that point. But he keeps you honest. He keeps you back, your centre-backs honest, and you can't switch off for a second.
No, I think you're 100% right. With that being said then, guys, let's talk about our 11s. Go on, Dan, if you're Jürgen and you're going down there to the South Coast and you're picking the starting 11, tell me what you're doing.
Well, it's got to be Alisson in goal, hasn't it? Although obviously Keller came in for that replay, but I think Alisson had a little problem, didn't he? So yeah, Alisson in goal. Trent comes back in at right back. Haven't seen Milner for a few weeks. And then Konate, Gomez and Robbo. The same midfield. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with Pacetic, Keita, Thiago. And then Salah, he's a Firmino then, I wish. Salah, Nunes and Gakpo. And just on the Gakpo stuff, I totally agree with Steve. Like, people shouldn't be criticising for the start he's had. Jurgen Klopp doesn't like playing new players from the start. He's had to with Gakpo because we haven't had players available to us not to do so. And obviously I did all the expert insights on him and not want anyone to say, oh, he can play as a false nine. That's something he does. He doesn't do it. And we've asked him to do it. So
you're sticking him on the left?
You've got to be on the left, yeah. But like I said, I don't mind him popping up in the middle every now and then, but as a rule on the left because that's where he's had all his success. That's where we've signed him because of what he does in the left wing, not because of what he does as a makeshift false nine. So he's got to be.
I agree with that. Any changes? You're going to do the same thing?
Exactly what Dan says. I think it speaks for itself. And, again, going back to Gakpo, he can play as a secondary striker. He can play a little bit deeper than a 9, but we wouldn't set up that way anyway. So I think it's pretty. If you're going strong, for me, it's pretty obvious what you do. But we've sat here many, many times and gone, this is what's going to happen. And Saturday comes and it looks nothing like that. So this is just our thoughts.
Yeah,
and I agree with Dan completely with that lineup. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, same one with you, brother. That's what I would do. Keep an eye, by the way, on the channel later on. I'll be back later this afternoon with the Starting 11 prediction show where I'll guess what I think Jürgen's going to do. So I will get that for you then. Yeah, but that's what I would do if it was my personal point of view. Right then, FA Cup weekend, of course, means there's lots and lots and lots of fixtures happening. At time recording, obviously we're recording this on Friday, so tonight is the big one between City and Arsenal. One of those are going out. Elsewhere, it feels like there's a lot of Premier League sides who should go through, but there are a potential couple of giant killings on offer here. So Walsall hosting Leicester tomorrow morning. Well, that's tomorrow afternoon, actually, I should say. Saturday afternoon. Leeds going to Accrington Stanley. We can skim through some of these. But Southampton hosting Blackpool's in there as well. We've got Fulham against Sunderland. Spurs going to Preston. Man U just play Reading every year. Yeah, I feel like I've seen that game a million times.
All into Reading, isn't he?
Yeah, and obviously West Ham against Derby as well. And then there's a lot of ties with lower division sides in it. So there's a chance here, Steve, just in general, if Liverpool can get through. And I think actually they're underdogs to get through this game. I think we'll be a bit of a giant killing if we get through. But in general, there's a potential for a decent straw. There's nobody there really. Oh, listen, one of Arsenal or City are going to be through, of course. And there's going to be some decent sides, but there's also going to be a lot of, the Sheffield Wednesday v Fleetwood, you've got Blackburn versus Birmingham, you've got Ipswich v Burnley, Bristol versus West Brom, Luton v Grimsby. There's a chance where when you get into that fifth round, there's going to be a decent draws on offer, and before you know it, you're 6th round and you're like, oh, this again. We've been here before. Yeah. Liverpool kind of did that last season, to be honest. The draw was quite kind to them early through the early stages of the cup competitions, and he took full advantage of it. That's certainly in play again this season, provided, like I say, they can put the wrongs to right. Sorry, the wrongs to right down at Brighton.
Well, this could be one of our only paths to Europe if things don't go well with the Premier League. And that's grim saying that, but that's the reality we're looking at.
Have a good day a minute ago.
Yeah, it's true though. You've got to keep all your options open, haven't you? You look at City versus Arsenal game. At some point in the remainder of the season, they've got to focus more on getting across the line to win the Premier League. So in future rounds, they may choose to go weaker. We could benefit from that. Yeah, there are opportunities to go deep into this competition. We probably got the draw we didn't want right now for the weekend because of what happened before. This is a tough game for us. If we get something out of that, we gain confidence. It helps with the league. And as you say, some big clubs will go out. One from City and Arsenal will be gone, and that's massive. So it has to be looked at seriously in terms of an option for Europe, in terms of an option for a trophy, which is why I don't think we go weak, because our options are becoming less and less, aren't they?
Absolutely. Shout out to Ashley Pascoe in the YouTube chat, by the way. I'm going the game again. Why am I doing it to myself? It's because you're a legend, Ashley. Because you follow the Reds up and down the road, regardless if they're good, bad, or indifferent. You're an absolute superstar. Hope you have a better result than when I was down there. And by the way, if you get a chance, go to Brighton. Brighton's amazing anyway. So and hopefully it's a bit warmer than it was the other day. Because my God, I was cold when I was down there. But yeah, that's why you do it to yourself, Ash, because you're a superstar. Right then. I mentioned before about a little announcement. So yeah, the match builder show here that we do on YouTube in a couple of days in advance of the games. That's going to move. We're having a bit of a reshuffle. We've listened to your feedback. We've taken notes. I'm having a bit of a refresh, really, doing things a little bit differently. Trying to, what'd you say, guys? What's the word? Refresh, restart, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, why not? And basically improve, make things a lot better. We want to be your go-to place on match days. So going forward, starting again actually for this very weekend against Brighton. The uncensored match build-up, remember that? It's coming back. The uncensored match build-up is back, and it'll be live on YouTube an hour and 15 minutes before kick-off of every single Liverpool game. So yeah, get yourselves involved on a match day. What it allows us all to do is have a bit more information about team news and injury and stuff, because doing these 3 days before a game sometimes it's a bit of a juggling act and we don't really know. So I think it really, really does help. And yeah, we're really excited. We've had a big old planning meeting, a couple of those, and we've got some really cool ideas and more on that throughout the next couple of days and weeks over here on the YouTube channel and on Redmen Plus. I promise you, we think it's class. We've listened to the feedback and I'm sure you guys are going to think it's class as well. So yeah, if you're wondering where the build-up show is in the future, check out our match days. You will love it, I promise you. It'll be a different setup, a different vibe, lots of live, lots of interactiveness as well. So yeah, we've got you guys covered over there. Come and join us every single match day on YouTube. I promise you won't regret it. If you're going down the ground, you can listen or you can watch on the commute. If you're at home before getting ready for the game, watch us there as well. I promise you, it's boss. You'll love it. Certainly do. Speaking of the YouTube channel, and I touched upon this before, Jürgen's press conference available now as pre-match press conference. That's there for you. It's available in podcast form as well if you want that. Dan, you've had a couple of shows out on Plus this week. Expert Insights. You've done one on finances, one on the transfers. Yeah. Just give us a little bit of info on those.
So the Expert Insight with Mo Chatra, that was on FSG, and the finances obviously from the fallout of the Deloitte Money League, which was published last week. Liverpool actually got record high turnover in that. So just discussed what it all meant and what the actual figures meant, but also what it means moving forwards, obviously with a sale or minority sale or whatever. And also I did a Transfer Insight last night with Valentina Messeri from Sportbild in Germany. Spoke obviously about Jude Bellingham, of course, Ryan Gravenberch, and a little bit of Xavi Alonso in there as well. But also the Mo Chatra one is on Redmen Plus now, but we'll also be heading over to YouTube tomorrow as well.
So keep an eye on Redmen Plus, redmenplus.com for those. Yeah, I mentioned before as well, I'll be doing Starting 11 prediction show later on as well, but I'll be guessing Jürgen's team, so keep an eye out for that one. Right then, before we go, guys, hands on heart. You can be honest with me, you can lie to me face, I don't care at this point. You only have to look at yourselves in the mirror. Score predictions, Dan Clubbe.
First time ever, I'm not going to predict Liverpool win. This goes to a replay. This is 1-1, this game.
When you started that sentence, I was going to come to you with, we're doing this again at Anfield.
Yeah, we are.
2-2, 1-1.
1-1. In the midweek in a couple of weeks, this is us again.
2-2. 2-2. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. We go again. We'll be back at Anfield. We'll do another one of these at Anfield. Maybe, who knows?
And the whole new Umbu. Yeah, the whole new one.
I can imagine Paul watching this live or listening, go, no, we're 7-0. But yeah, maybe we're a bit too pessimistic. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think a draw as well. I think Liverpool can win, and I just hope they play better. And I think they can play better. It'd be hard to get worse. Really would be. That was like bottom of the of the hill. Liverpool are starting to climb back up it again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And like I say, if you want redemption, go back to the place where you got done in the first place and go back and get at it again. Right then, thank you very much for joining us on the Match Build-Up Show. Thanks to Dan, thanks to Steve, thanks for you guys for watching or listening. Yeah, do come and check out Match Day on Redmen YouTube channel. You will love it, I promise you. Starting with your own sense of Match Build-Up. It's Chris, it's Paul, and it's Dan on that one live from, that'll be 12:15 UK time with a 1:30 kick-off for the watch-along to follow. So yeah, come and join us then. Ta-da.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Did you know that if you go over to redmenplus.com and sign up as a Club Legend subscriber, I will personally email you every single month with a new code which gets you 20% off at redmenmerch.com. That's a no-brainer. Go and do it.